died when I was 17. And he's like, Michael, and we used to be we were very loving. We weren't but we were all like, hey, we would witness and hey, there's heaven and hell. We were those people. And then one day he's like, I don't think hell's legit. In the same way. And I was like, whoa. He's like, Michael, I went through every single time in the Bible where it said hell, and I looked up every single verse in the Greek and Hebrew, and I don't think it's what we think it is.
What did he think? I'm so curious what he thought it was.
So
I have an opinion about it. I'm just curious what you're
thinking. So in the Old Testament, there's a couple different words for it, and he said basically it meant the grave. And Hades, or there's a couple other ones. And then in the New Testament, Jesus talks about it, and he refers to hell as Gehenna. Gehenna is a trash dump where they burn. And then I think there was something else, but it's I have my whole view on heaven and hell now. I think it's really freeing, but yeah, that's where he started with it. And then what's your view?
So my whole thing when it comes to heaven and hell, do you know who Rob Bell is?
Oh yeah, bro. Oh, that shit popped off, bro. Oh, dude, that started some controversy, bro. I was about it.
So from what I've learned when it comes to how I view heaven and hell now, and my whole worldview on spirituality and Christianity and all of that, is I believe that hell is just when you're separate and out of alignment from spirit. You are not connected to whatever you want to call God, the universe, Mother Earth, whatever that is. That is hell. When you are not feeling that connected. And I've been there. And then heaven is when you're in flow and you're connected and you're in sync with the universe. That is heaven. Heaven is here. There isn't. I personally don't believe it's a place we go to when we die. Right. I don't think that's real.
Well, so you want to hear a crazy thought I had that I posted on Instagram that...
I want to hear your opinion on it.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to say this, what I posted, and then so I don't forget it, and then I'll go back to that. But it was if heaven is a place you go when you die, right?
Yep.
So I had this really crazy thought. It was a high thought, but I wasn't high. It's a couple months ago. And I posted it on my Instagram because my brother's a head pastor. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And my family's all very Christian. I don't push my stuff on them, but I love asking questions. And I was like, all right. So I just posted it on my Instagram. I don't know if they even saw it, but
it's a little steep.
But my stepmom did, and my dad did.
So I know they saw it.
Yeah.
Maybe they see it.
Well, my dad's on board with me though. My stepmom's open, but I was like, all right. So if heaven is a place you go when you die, right? So let's say someone murders your entire family, right? And then right before they die, they become a Christian, and then they go to heaven. How are you going to feel towards them? Are you going to feel super happy and loving, or are you going to have weirdness? And to make it even worse, let's say your family wasn't a Christian. Let's say this guy murdered your entire family. They go to hell forever. Then this dude goes to heaven. So now we're in a place of, if heaven's a place you go when you die, and you and everything's happy, that means that why are you happy? How can you be, you know what I'm saying? How is there bliss? Because your family's being tortured forever. And this dude who was whatever his whole life up before he died became a Christian. So if you feel happy towards him, is there bliss is your free will becoming overtaken? Is bliss mandatory? Why is there bliss?
Those are the kind of questions I was asked when I was in high school. I was
right.
This isn't that enough.
So then it's well, maybe you don't think about it. So then it all comes down to your state of consciousness.
Yep.
If you can think about it and not feel weird, then why can't you do that now?
Yeah.
It's all consciousness.
Yep.
And so I don't think heaven's a place you go when you die, because that's the whole thing. So it doesn't change anything. Let's say you go there. Are you still going to feel weird? Because that's so that's a very interesting question. And so what I think heaven and hell is exactly what you were saying. So I think hell is psychological suffering. So Jesus essentially said, and this is why I love his message. I think the Bible's fucking awesome. Colossians says you've separated yourselves from God in your mind.
Yep.
Doesn't if God is everywhere, God must be everything.
It's true.
Because if it has to be in every little crevice. So you can't separate yourselves from God. You can only separate yourselves from God experientially, but not fundamentally.
Correct.
So by a belief system, or by you distorting your mirror. Or your window. So Jesus said, heaven is within you and around you, but unless you repent, which means change the way you think, you can never enter it. And then he said, unless you become like a child, you can never enter it. A child is a person before opinions and judgments and beliefs about reality. They just experience reality. They're in isness.
Yeah.
And then they put beliefs and judgments, which then splits up, and you get put into a world of duality of right and wrong, this and that, good and bad. And then you start cutting up heaven and into these little pieces, and you're in this world of separation, not unity.
I remember when I first made that connection, because in the Bible, something they talk about is like you need to have the faith of a child to get into heaven. I remember hearing that as a kid, like, what does that mean? Like, I'm an adult, you need to be mature. There's other verses in the Bible that talk about becoming a mature adult.
Right.
And when I clicked that, I was like, oh, it's who you are without all the world's shit on top of you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I believe in magic, and I believe in fairies, and all the things that like create your reality. Like, that's what kids believe in. Like, you tell it to a 5-year-old, it's like, oh, of course it's real.
Yeah. It's a place of not knowing anything.
And it's such a powerful place to be in, because it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm a kid. The universe has got me. The universe, I can make it.
It's full trust.
It's full trust, and it's also like a blank canvas. Because as a kid, you're like, what do I want to do today on your day off?
Yeah.
Go play in the dirt.
But I in a way, I see it as like...
Shit like that, though.
Yeah.
But I also see it as like hell is such a gift, too. Because if you take it like a bigger scope, like what's happening? I think that God, which I see as oneness or unity, so for God to know itself, it must create separation, right? Because you can't know one. There has to be another, like Alan Watts says, there must be a front to have a back, or up to down. Mm-hmm. For me to know myself, there must be a you. For me to know there's a me. So for one, for infinity to know itself, it had to make a split. So it splits itself off. Well, the first split, I believe, is awareness, self-awareness or consciousness. Mm-hmm. And from that, you have all the different densities and dimensions and free will and different polarities, negative, positive. And so God, to have an experience, essentially forgets who God is, to remember who and what it is from new points of view, which is you, me, the tree, all at different levels of awareness.
Ants.
Yeah. But and so the law of one talks about this, that awareness, there's the evolution to awareness, like the first density of awareness is like the cells and that kind of stuff. And then the second density is plants and animals. And they start knowing about themselves through us. As we cast awareness on a rock, it knows it's a rock by us knowing about it. It's not self-aware, but as we cast awareness on it, it starts learning that, oh, I'm a rock. And then as that awareness grows, that grows into plants and animals. And then as you start calling a dog by name, it starts developing a personality and starts turning awareness in on itself. Awareness starts evolving, becomes third density, us. Fourth density, I believe, is what Jesus was at. And it keeps going until it breaks out of the octave. All to say is, like, in order for God to remember who it is, it must forget who it is. And I kind of say the more dense awareness gets, the more forgetful it gets.
Yeah.
And then it remembers who it is. And so hell is a gift. Hell is to show you where it's not to say you're bad. It's to say, oh, you're believing something that's not fundamentally true about what is real. So that's why it feels bad.
Yeah.
And so suffering is a purifying process. That's the whole point of fire. The fire is to purify. Fire and brimstone, it purifies. It's not for punishment.
Yeah.
And so,
that makes me think of all of like the, I guess, analogies or similes or metaphors used around light and going towards the light. It's like, it can be translated as the actual light, brightness, right? But it can also be translated as like becoming less dense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, like going towards the light is losing density. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I heard someone say it's like, wasn't that interesting? It's like, okay, so enlightenment, right? They say if
enlightenment, exactly.
Right, if the guru doesn't laugh, he's probably not a guru, because lighten up. And that I heard someone say is like the first step to enlightenment is to lighten up, or to lighten up on yourself, to become lighthearted, to become light.
Right, and all these
beautiful
things that you use, it's like, it's getting rid of the density.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the Celestine Prophecy?
I started. My dad loves that book. I started reading it. I didn't finish it though. That's my fault, dude.
I haven't read it either. He gives me shit for it.
You guys have literally cut off an entire branch of this conversation that would be beautiful.
But I feel like I know about it. Maybe not.
There's like these insights that that you learn, and it's like it's in a story form, so they're going through and they're discovering these insights, right? This manuscript that's in Peru that the government's trying to like manipulate and like keep to themselves so that people don't understand what's actually happening.
Sounds like reality.
I was gonna say,
it sounds like I'm sure it's fiction.
Right? And like these soldiers for light are going through and they're like, no, people need to know about this. Like they're risking their lives to tell them about it. And like when they get to the last insight,
don't tell us what happens.
I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it very much fits into the conversation about exactly what we were talking about.
See, those kind of things confirms, for me at least, when it comes to this whole conversation is like the Bible, the universe, Jesus, all that. It's like there's so many different kinds of teachings, whether it be that, Joe Dispenza, the Bible, other teachings, like they're all saying the same thing.
Right.
Some of it is more scientific, like Joe Dispenza, like he's got science behind it.
Right.
Some of it is more like, you know,
right.
You gotta have a little more belief around it. But it's like that makes
it's all the same thing.
It's all the same thing. It makes more sense to me. It feels more true than like just hope you get into heaven and like pray for forgiveness. I'm like that is so disempowering.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like you're crossing your fingers that you're gonna get up there that you were good enough.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of just like mistranslations and stuff, right? It's just like people mistranslate so many things, even like salvation. Salvation again is like becoming whole. Salvation is a process. Like I look at verses like work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Growing up,
I love the fact you're quoting scripture right now.
Me too.
I don't know many people that actually know all of this, and I'm like, you know these things.
Yeah, man, because they fucked me up as a kid, and now I think they're really freeing because it's not that fault; it's the mistranslation. And there's so many people. Like I just talked to my friend the other day, and she was in so much. She's freaking out because it's your reality, it's your worldview. And when it crashes and you have shame from it, and you're like, oh, God hates me or I'm bad or this. It's like no, like you're fine, like. Like you're fine. Like to me it was fine. Yeah, it was like the most freeing thing. I don't think people realize how much of a burden it is to live with that stuff, because and it's like, I mean, there's so many things you go with it. It's like, oh, you say like you love God, but I remember when I first asked someone like, they're like, well, if hell's not real, then why am I a Christian? I was like, oh, I thought you just love God. Are you just doing it because you don't want to go to hell? And they're like, oh, wait, what? You know, like, oh, shit.
But, like, so many people are, unconsciously.
Right.
It's out of fear.
So it's like, why are you doing what you're doing? And they're like, no, we just love God because he first loved us. But there wasn't a hell. Like, would you really care? But anyways, all to say is, like, the verse, like, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. That one fucked me up because I was like, I better know if I'm saved because if not, I'm going to hell.
How many times, if you had to count, how many times do you feel like you accepted Christ into your heart growing up?
Too many, dude.
Same.
I don't know. Thing is,
almost every.
You just gotta keep doing it just in case.
Pretty much. Like every time, when I was younger, every time there would be like a time, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I don't know. Like I'm having a little doubt."
You ever think the rapture could happen any second, bro? Like it's gonna.
I just picture you guys walking by people with like water in a cup, and you're like, "Bro, just baptize."
Vegas, give me a splash.
Just in case. I don't know. I did it once, but like,
bro,
I'm feeling a little.
I remember they said no one knows the day or the hour for the rapture. So I was like, okay, if I believe it's now, it can't happen. So I'd be like, it's gonna happen, and then it wouldn't happen. But anyways, real quick, to go back to that verse though, because that one fucked me up, and I think that's something I'm really passionate about. Is like, when people get so into this shit, it's like, let's just rewire that, and you'll be set free. Like these verses. So like, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. That one always confused me. I'm like, okay, but if salvation is just becoming whole, which is becoming holy, you know, becoming like God, which means becoming your true nature. You're not becoming anything you're not. You're just unraveling everything that got in the way. Then working out your salvation with fear and trembling is literally just like looking at the shadow. So when you go into all the stuff you don't want to look at, you have the fear, the trembling, but you're not like, I'm scared I'm going to go to hell, right? It's like, oh, let's change the way I think and repent. And by doing that, I have to look at all the beliefs that aren't serving me and look at my fears, and that might cause some fear and trembling. But that's exactly what purifies me and gets me saved. The process of becoming holy is the process of purification.
So it's the process of to translate to
shadow
new
work.
age. It's shadow work.
It's literally just doing shadow work.
And also, and becoming whole, you're getting closer to the truest version of you. Right. The highest version of you. So it's like doing that, you're becoming holy by like...
The truest version of you.
The truest version of Los is holy.
Yeah. We are the Christ.
Yeah.
That's like what we are, right? Like, and I think, so it's like, and as you study physics and everything, you see everything is one thing.
Yeah.
So it's your perspective is that you're separate. So if you're bad, how do you say that you're, like, everything is one vibratory field of light? So how can you say this person or that person is this, because it's one thing. It's like the thumb, you know, feeling like it's separate from the body, but like it's all thumb, hand, it's all one thing.
It's like, where's the thumb really stop?
Right, it's all really, just like, it's like, where do we really stop? It's like your eyes don't pick it up, so you think you stop there, but you melt into all that is.
Yeah. And the idea, you said this a minute ago, like the concept, and this blew my mind when I thought about it, of like God forgetting himself and all different levels of consciousness. It's honestly a genius way to like learn about it.
Game, bro.
It's such genius, like, when we're all together and being God, like that's a genius idea. We're like, hey, let's forget who we are. On such a deep level, it takes us a lifetime.
It's like a movie, bro. It's like
it really is.
It's kind of like you get lost in the movie. When you get lost in the movie, it like part of it's fun. And there's my buddy was he's like a yogi and he channels stuff, and someone asked him a question